We'll start off with Raspberry Pi, who is planning a London IPO, but its CEO expects, quote, no change in focus. And an IPO, for those who don't know, is an initial public offering. Basically, they're planning to become a public company. People can buy shares. They'll be traded on the stock market. All the things that will definitely in no way, shape, or form eventually cause this company to go down the drain. Personal opinion there. The CEO tells Ars Technica that while it is an understandable thing that Raspberry Pi enthusiasts could be concerned, quote, while I'm involved in running the thing, I don't expect people to see any change in how we do things. Apparently, there's two sides to the Raspberry Pi company, whatever they're considered. There's the nonprofit side that I think most of us watching this are probably familiar with, where they talk about like all the educational things you can do, and you should get a Raspberry Pi to like self-host your own data and learn programming and stuff like that. And then there's the for-profit side, who specifically targets, it's the same stuff, but they sell it to companies and government agencies and things like that as just kind of like, hey, here's a reasonably priced computer that can run some small programs like a Raspberry Pi does. So that's what he's talking about when he says this. The IPO is about the foundation, Upton said, with that charitable arm selling some of its majority stake in the business entity to raise funds and expand. The foundation was previously funded by dividends from the business side. He said, we do this transaction, and the proceeds of that transaction allow the foundation to train teachers, run clubs, expand programs, and do those things at least at a factor of 2x. That's what I'm most excited about. And then asked about the concerns that Raspberry Pi could focus its attention on higher volume customers after public investors are involved, Upton said there would be no change to the kinds of products that Pi makes and that they are culturally important to us. That was a quote. Upton noted that Raspberry Pi, apart from a single retail store, does not sell Pis directly, but through resellers. Margin structures at Raspberry Pi have, quote, stayed the same all the way through, unquote, and should remain so after the IPO. Look, I want to believe this guy. I'm not going to lie, because I do like Raspberry Pis. I have two of them. And for some reason, I always want more, even though I have nothing to do with them. But like, they're cool. They're great little, they're small. I actually have one of them Velcroed behind a TV so that it's out of the way. I've seen this at job sites. Like companies will, because it's a cheap way to do digital signage in like a restaurant or a store or something. Instead of doing something super complicated, they just literally get a Raspberry Pi, Velcro it behind the TV, and run their slides or whatever. So like, I love Raspberry Pis. I think they're cool, but I also think it's right to be concerned. But at this time, I guess we'll really just have to see what the future plays out. Maybe he is telling the truth and he's going to, try really hard to keep things accessible and focused on the foundation side of things, but also like maybe it's all going to go to crap. So start planning your exit strategy, I guess.
Yeah, I still want to see the first person to do an IPO and not lose sight of the original vision after like a 10-year period.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it could also be one of those things where, like he said, as long as I'm running the thing, sure. What about the guy after you who's just like, we got to make as much money as possible?
Right. And I don't know what this structure is. I'm confused by it. I'm sure most people are confused by it. It reminds me of Mozilla's structure, which is confusing as well, because like Firefox is a corporation under the nonprofit Mozilla organization. I think it's something weird like that. But pretty much people who try to stick to the original vision and not prioritize profits tend to just get kicked out of like executive positions. So yep. I'm not saying I don't understand if he's immutable to that because of this weird structure. I'm just saying I'm skeptical, but I hope I'm proved wrong because I also like Raspberry Pi.
You and me both.